So let's transition back to the NBA and let's talk about Giannis and his recent comments on Kevin Durant. Take a listen.
And I want you to go to camera 3 right now.
Joker, how are you going to make it through the finals where you look like you can barely make it through a Burger King drive-thru?
Kevin Durant, let's go.
You keep joining super teams to win an NBA title. How about we work out together sometime so I can teach you how to carry your own team? Baby, you're one of the best scorers to ever play this game.
He couldn't even go through with it without a mea culpa. Israel grade Giannis' performance.
So that was Giannis on the Joker and Kevin Durant. He had some interesting comments. Giannis threw some shade at the Joker and KD. So when I initially saw these comments from Giannis on this show about Kevin Durant, my initial reaction was Giannis got a lot of nerve. Now, we know when you go on these shows and you're goofing around and you're making jokes and telling jokes and stuff like that, usually they tell you what jokes they want you to make before you even actually go on air to tell the jokes. You already know what's on your script prior to it being aired on live television. So Giannis knew before he made his comments on Kevin Durant and how he always joined super teams and so forth. Giannis already knew what he was going to say. And for Giannis to go on the show and say that, I think is very, very, very disrespectful. And let me remind Giannis about who the hell Kevin Durant is. Kevin Durant, he is a 13-time NBA All-Star, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 2-time NBA champion. He won an NBA MVP back in 2014, 2-time NBA All-Star Game MVP. And for Kevin Durant, this is his stats for his career. Kevin Durant, the man averages 30 points per game on 56% shooting from the floor. I'm sorry. He averages 27 points per game on 50% shooting from the floor. And the man is one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. You look at what Kevin Durant's been able to do in his career. Kevin Durant, while he was in Oklahoma City, he averaged 27 points per game. That was the best in team history. He follows that up. He goes to Golden State. In Golden State, he is the best player on the best team by far in Golden State. He averaged 26 points per game in Golden State. That's the second in team history. And then he goes to Brooklyn. He averages 29 points per game. That's the first in team history. Kevin Durant is one of the most efficient scorers in NBA history. Kevin Durant is even more efficient than the great Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. Kevin Durant is one of the best players in the NBA. And for Giannis to go on a show and disrespect KD like this, I know Kevin Durant is going to use this as bulletin board material if the Suns and the Bucks meet in the finals again. I know Kevin Durant is fuming seeing what Giannis had to say about him on this particular show. Let me remind Giannis about what happened a few years ago in the NBA playoffs when the Nets and the Bucks faced off against each other in the second round. The Bucks beat the Nets 115-111. They won the series 4-3. But in that decisive game 7 in Brooklyn, remember, Kyrie Irving was out. He shattered his ankle. James Harden was not even 50%. He had a bad hamstring in that series. Giannis had Chris Middleton. He had Drew Holiday. And in game 7, Giannis, he had 40 points, shot 15 of 24 from the floor, 2 of 6 from three-point range. Kevin Durant, he had 48 points. He shot 17 of 36, 4 of 11 from three-point range. And if his shoe was a size smaller, the Brooklyn Nets would have beaten the Bucks in regulation because Kevin Durant shot and hit a shot that would have gave the Nets a lead over the Bucks in the fourth quarter of Game 7 in Brooklyn. Kevin Durant outplayed Giannis majority of that series, and he didn't have Kyrie Irving. He didn't even have James Harden at 50% or 60%. Giannis had Drew Holiday. Giannis had Chris Middleton. And I need to remind Giannis that he had a bunch of shortcomings in the NBA playoffs prior to winning a championship 2 years ago. Remember when the Bucks and Giannis flamed out in the NBA playoffs against Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat in the bubble? I remember when that happened. Giannis has had a bunch of shortcomings in the NBA playoffs before he finally broke through 2 years ago. He's had countless times in the NBA playoffs where he hasn't gotten it done, and he's come up short. And honestly, I thought he got a pass in the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago. The year they won the championship, I thought he got a pass having to play the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals because they weren't ready at that time. They weren't a team that was ready to be a contender in the Eastern Conference. I thought that year the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young and Collins on that team, I thought they overachieved getting to the NBA final, to the conference finals. They overachieved that year. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Giannis. Giannis is one of the best players in the NBA, arguably the best player in the NBA. But for him to disrespect Kevin Durant like this, I think it's definitely crazy. And I know Kevin Durant is going to use this for bulletin board material. And I would love to see Kevin Durant and Giannis face off against each other in the NBA Finals if the Suns and Bucks can make it. Now, I think the Celtics are going to win the East. But if somehow the Bucks are able to upset the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Suns can outlast the Nuggets or even the Clippers or the Warriors, I would love to see Kevin Durant and Giannis face off against each other again. This time would be in the NBA Finals. I would love to see it because Giannis, him coming at Kevin Durant the way that he's coming at him is disrespectful. And again, before Drew Holiday was in Milwaukee, Giannis had countless times in the NBA playoffs where he came up short. Countless times where he wasn't able to get it done because he cannot hit perimeter shots consistently. He can't do it. And there are things that Giannis does better than Kevin Durant. Like Giannis is a better rim protector than Kevin Durant is. Giannis is more athletic than Kevin Durant is. Giannis is better in the interior than Kevin Durant is. He's a more dominant player than Kevin Durant is. But Kevin Durant is more of a finesse player than a dominant player. And Kevin Durant is better at shooting perimeter shots than Giannis is. Kevin Durant is better at shooting mid-range shots than Giannis is. And Kevin Durant is by far a better free throw shooter than Giannis is. Kevin Durant is all around a better scorer than Giannis is. But you can make an argument that Giannis is more of a dominant player than KD is. So both players have their strengths and their weaknesses. But Giannis is coming at Kevin Durant like Kevin Durant is Devin Booker or Jason Tatum or Ja Morant. No, Kevin Durant is a proven NBA all-time great. Kevin Durant is one of the best players in the NBA and one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. I know he gets a lot of criticism because he went to Golden State, but while he was in Golden State, even playing alongside the great Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant was the best player on those Warriors championship teams. He was the best player on those teams by far. By far. Yes, Steph was the Dwayne Wade of those Warriors teams. Remember when LeBron went to Miami? LeBron was the best player on those Miami Heat teams. But Dwayne Wade was the player that grew up with that Miami Heat organization. And he was drafted by the Miami Heat. And so they always were going to give Dwayne Wade more love in South Beach than they were going to give LeBron. And the same thing in Golden State. The Warrior fans were always going to love Steph more than Kevin Durant because Steph is one of their own. Steph was drafted by the Warriors. Steph came into the NBA and developed as a family man and a husband in Golden State. So they were always going to give Steph more love than they were going to give Kevin Durant. And I think Kevin Durant struggled with that. I think when he went to Golden State and he won those 2 NBA Finals MVPs, I think Kevin Durant wanted the love and the admiration that Steph received from Warriors fans, and it was never going to happen. It was never going to happen in Golden State. They were never going to love Kevin Durant the way that they love Steph. Just like LeBron wasn't going to get that love in Miami. They were never going to love LeBron the way that they love Dwayne Wade. Never. And again, I think Kevin Durant, despite all the criticism that he got for going to Golden State, I think he proved that he's the best player on those teams. And Kevin Durant just wants to hoop. He wants to hoop. He doesn't care about like being a leader. And that's why I think his role with the Suns is a great role. In his first game with the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant had 23 points, 6 rebounds. Devin Booker stole the show, though. 37 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. I thought Kevin Durant, he fit in perfectly with the Suns. Because on this Suns team, he doesn't have to be the leader on the Suns basketball team. That's Chris Paul. They also have tremendous leadership from Monty Williams, their head coach. So Kevin Durant can step in and he can just play basketball. He can just play basketball when he comes to the arena. He doesn't have to monitor what other players on his team are doing. The same way that he had to do in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, he was supposed to lead that basketball team because they had Kyrie Irving, and he didn't want to have that responsibility. He wanted Kyrie to be his own man, be his own person. Kevin Durant wanted to just hoop. That's all he cared about. Time and time again, the media tried to turn Kevin Durant against Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant always had the perfect response. He always allowed Kyrie Irving to be his own man. And I think that's why Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant will always be friends off the floor. He never judged him for being himself. And again, in Phoenix now, because he's going to be able to just play basketball and hoop, I think we're going to get an even better version of Kevin Durant in Phoenix compared to what we got in Brooklyn. The same way he was able to just come to the gym every day and hoop in Golden State, he's going to have that opportunity with the Phoenix Suns as well. And that's the reason why I believe the Phoenix Suns are one of the favorites in the Western Conference to represent the West in the NBA Finals this year.